So we've been hearing a lot about the growing affordability gap in BC lately, especially true in Vancouver. And a couple of recent reports from TD Bank and the Royal Bank of Canada have noted that it would take about 90% of the average pre-tax household income to afford a detached house in Vancouver, and about 40% of the average pre-tax household income to afford a condo. So we've also been seeing prices start to accelerate in other places in BC, like Victoria, the Fraser Valley, Kelowna, and so on. So it isn't something that is strictly confined to the Vancouver market. And if you look at what's happened in BC since 2002, you can see that on the whole, wages haven't kept pace with house prices at all. And so while low interest rates are probably keeping carrying costs reasonable on these larger mortgages, buyers are required to come up with a much larger down payment than they would have been in 2002. So with this in mind, I just wanted to see what other jurisdictions throughout Canada are doing to address the growing affordability gap, and that's how I came across Attainable Homes in the City of Calgary. So with that, let me introduce today's speaker, Neil Mitchell. Neil has kindly agreed to step in and do today's presentation in place of Marissa, who unfortunately was not able to make it. Neil is a sales associate with Attainable Homes and delivers all of their education sessions. Neil is here to talk about the Attainable Homes model. Attainable Homes has been helping low to moderate, or moderate income Calgarians enter the housing market since 2009 by providing qualified buyers with forgivable equity loans through a shared appreciation plan. So before I turn this over to Neil, I just have a few poll questions for the audience. So question one, how many people are viewing the webinar with you today? All right, thank you. And question number two is, do you think the average first-time buyer in your community would struggle to come up with a minimum 5% down payment without some kind of financial assistance? All right, thank you. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Neil. Okay, Neil, do you want to go ahead?
You betcha. So thank you, Brad, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As Brad mentioned, I'm a sales associate here with Attainable Homes. I've been with them for almost 2 years now. And much like you just witnessed in that poll question there, that kind of question was asked in the Calgary community as well. And the majority of people did say that they would struggle to get that 5% down to purchase a home in Calgary. So it's interesting to see that, other communities are facing the same challenges that we did. So what I'm going to talk about today a little bit is why was Attainable Homes created, how our program works, our program criteria. I'm going to talk a bit about our development projects, and I'm also going to talk about our unit acquisitions. We have several ways of acquiring our product, and we'll go into detail about that a little bit later. I'm just going to let everyone know now that if you want more detailed information on our program, you can always go to our webpage at www.attainyourhome.com. So, bridging the affordability gap, much as like you saw in the previous slides from Brad's presentation there, in Calgary, we had a significant growth in housing prices and sort of a steady increase of wages, but nowhere near could it keep up with housing prices. So from this slide, you can see the gap wasn't so bad back in 2003, but if you look what has happened to 2013 statistics, there is quite an affordability gap. So, home prices have been rising in a faster pace than the average wages in Calgary for many years, and that has been locking plenty of people out of the market. Back in 2013, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Calgary had a fairly substantial flood, and that even forced more people off of out into the market in our limited rental pool and struggling entry-level home ownership as well. So if you can consider the current housing prices, even with a 5% down payment, that could be upwards of $20,000, which, is quite a substantial amount for people to sort of save when they're paying more and more for rent. Just some average rents in Calgary, and we're going to talk in some of the suburban communities. For a one-bedroom, you can be paying up to $1,300 to $1,500 a month in rent. For a two-bedroom, again, in the suburbs, you're looking at $1,500 to $1,700 in rent. When we're talking closer into the inner city, those prices actually go up as well. So we are a nonprofit social enterprise that is wholly owned subsidiary of the City of Calgary, but we do operate independently. We do report annually to the City Council as they are our sole shareholder. Our board does comprise of the mayor, one city councillor, and 5 citizens. That is a volunteer board. And we have helped nearly 700 families become homeowners since our first home sale in February 2011. So back when we first started this out, the Brain Trust, the mayor had come to a few smart people and said, what are we going to do? And they created a model which we called the 10 Years to End Homelessness, and our program was sort of an initiative at the tail end of that program there. So our mandate is to turn renters into homeowners, thus freeing up rental units that those that might be in subsidized housing or our Calgary housing program could then move into those rental programs, and then freeing up the subsidized rentals for those that are in most need, the homeless or those that are struggling for whatever reason here. So we connected with several partners. We partner with developers, builders, lenders, lawyers, insurance companies, and all of our mandates to lower the upfront costs of buying our homes. All of our mortgages are underwritten by both CMHC or Genworth, so they support our program. We work with at least 7 different building partners or developers to date, and I'll talk a little bit about those partnerships, how they work a little bit later. We have dedicated representatives at several banks. In fact, I think we have 9 banks on board who are familiar with our program and approve most of our mortgages for our buyers. And we also have partnered legal firms that offer our buyers a flat fee for their closing costs, which will then help our buyers determine what the actual costs of buying a home are up front, so there's no surprises down the road. So there are 3 key elements to our program that makes the dream of home ownership a practical reality. We provide below market values, we have forgivable equity loans, and we have a share in the appreciation of the home. So what we like to do is we provide the best possible pricing for our properties, and we provide them at below market values. How we do this in the bulk of our product is we buy them in bulk so that we can get a discount from the builders, and then we apply that discount to our buyers, so they're actually buying it below what you would if you went to the builder directly. Okay? You don't also have to need to save up that large down payment. We only require that they come up with a minimum of $2,000 of their own money. That can come from RSPs. People use the New Home Buyers Program to do that. Their own savings, whatever it be, it just can't be a gift, but they have to come up with $2,000 of their own money. And then we provide the rest of the down payment as a non-cash forgivable equity loan. Then we have developed a shared appreciation model that provides, we get a share of the appreciation in the home, but it's a growing share for the buyer the longer they live in the home there. So the longer the homeowner lives in their attainable home, the more appreciation they get to keep, to a maximum of 75% of the appreciation after 3 years. So this model is actually self-funded and doesn't rely on any grants or ongoing government subsidies. So here's an example of a home purchase price. This would look like probably something similar to a 2-bedroom condominium in the suburbs. So if you went to the builder directly, they would have to probably pay $260,000 for that 2-bedroom apartment. But because we bought them in bulk, we can then offer them the discounted price of $250,000 is what we would sell it to them. So in that case there, we would be providing $12,500 in the form of the equity loan that would require them then to put their $2,000 down and requiring a mortgage of $235,500, okay? So this is a gifted down payment, means they will never actually have to pay back that amount. That $12,500 is a gift, and it truly is forgivable. So how does the shared appreciation model work? So in the very first year of ownership, our mandate is not to turn people into landlords or flipping houses. So we will say, if you're going to buy a home from us, because we know we're selling it under market value, we don't want anyone thinking they can just come in and flip those properties. So we would take actually 100% of the appreciation, or actually we also would take back our gifted down payment if they did sell in that first year. We take whatever is greater, the appreciation or our gifted down payment. But after that year, we do understand situations can change and people may need to sell or leave their property. So after 1 year, 75% of the appreciation would come to Attainable Homes and 25% would stay in the homeowner's pocket. After 2 years, it's a 50-50 share of the appreciation. And then after 3 years plus, it's 25% of the appreciation would come back to Attainable Homes and 75% would stay in the homeowner's pocket. Currently, there is no mandate for them to ever leave the program. So that 25-75% split would stay there until they decide to either dissolve the property or refinance the property, and I'll explain that a little bit later as well. So let's put an example of after 5 years of living in an attainable home here, and I'm going to use an assumption that this is a growth rate of about 2.5%, which is pretty much an average of what Calgary has been doing, even though we have had years that have spiked higher. We've also had a couple years where that rate was a little bit lower, so we did sort of take an average of a fairly small increase of 2.5%. So after living in that attainable home for 5 years, and then we're going to talk about that same property we just talked about there earlier there, the appraised value of that property is now $294,000. So how we calculate the appreciation is we actually don't touch any of the homeowner's own money or any of the money that they've paid off in their mortgage. So we would just deduct their deposit. We would also deduct the mortgage at the time of signing their contract, and what is left is considered appreciation. So in this example, there's $56,500 $500 of appreciation. So in that 75-25 split, it would look like this. $42,375,000 would be in the homeowner's pocket, and then $14,125 would be returned to Attainable Homes to help assist different new families in our program. So what's the catch? Well, we're not here to help out absolutely everyone in the world. We're here to try to target our audience to what we consider mid-income Calgarians. So households that do have dependent children must earn no more than $90,000 annually to enter our program. If you do not have dependents, you must not make more than $80,000 per year. Okay. The applicants must qualify for a mortgage, and they must contribute $2,000 of their own money. And as I mentioned earlier, it does have to be their own money. That cannot be a gift. It can't just be found money. It has to be traceable, so it has to come from their savings, whether it's RSPs or, again, it's their own savings. Their assets must be less than 20% of the home purchase price to a maximum of $50,000. Because again, if they have assets out there that are more than 20% of the purchase price, why are they coming to a program like us? So we do limit it to a certain demographic. When we're talking about assets, though, we do not include primary vehicles, we do not include RSPs, RESPs, or any pension plans. But we are looking at any other form of asset they may have. And one of the other mandates, too, is they must not own any other property anywhere in the world. Buyers must complete a homeowner's education program. That is a program we developed here that does just talk about our shared appreciation model, talks a little bit about home ownership and the responsibilities. The bulk of our buyers generally are renters, so we do like to help them out to understand the differences between renters with landlords and things like that, where with homeowners and the responsibilities that they have. The biggest thing is the home must be their principal and primary and sole residence. That is actually the only rule that we have that matters after our clients get their keys. We no longer care about their income or their assets once they have moved into Attainable Home, but we do care that it is their only property and that they live in it. Because again, our mandate is not to have them go back and move into their parents' basement and then use that out as a rental property and become a landlord themselves. That is not our mandate. So, as I mentioned earlier, you can look at our webpage, attainyourhome.com, and under the Choose Your Home tab, it does have a lot of our individual properties there. As I mentioned earlier, we have two types of properties that we work with. We do have unit acquisition properties and land development properties, okay? The land development properties are land that we had acquired from the City of Calgary, and we pay a mortgage to the City of Calgary on each of those development properties, and then we partner with our builders, and we will come up with concepts that suit those individual neighborhoods. So there is a couple of examples here. The top one there was our Westbury Park project in West Springs in Calgary. We partnered with Truman Homes for that project, and it was either stacked townhomes or it also had some row townhomes. So the ones in the picture there at the top there are actually similar to an 8-plex there. So there's 4 units on the bottom and 4 units on the top, and we had 6 of those buildings put in there, and we also then had some row townhouses there. And then when we partner with the builders, what we do is we will take some of the property and the builder will take some, which then they can sell at market value to help recoup some of their costs of the development as well. The bottom project there is one that we're actually proud to say is very close to completion. That picture there does not show very close to completion, but that is our Mount Pleasant project, which is closer to an inner city project there, and that was a project that consists consisted of townhomes and apartments. So the bottom 2 floors of that project were actually townhomes, and then the top 2 floors there were apartments ranging up to even 3-bedroom apartments in that project. It does have underground parking as well. Unit acquisition projects, they comprise the bulk of what we sell here at Attainable Homes. And what we would do is then source out building partners that can deliver a product that we feel will sustain itself, meaning that it will increase in value over time. We don't want to build anything that is going to be falling down in the next 5 years because, again, we are a silent investor in those property and we share in the appreciation. So we'll buy in bulk, whether that's townhomes or apartments, and then we get that discount and we'll apply it onto our buyers as well. So is our project working? Is Attainable Homes working? Well, since 2010, we had 1 independent board member with no staff. And now, as of today, we have from our total investment of a mere $2 million, which was $1 million from the City of Calgary and $1 million from the Government of Alberta, we have now acquired over $5 million in equity. And we have helped nearly 20,000 people register to our program to learn more. We've educated 5,000 people. We've sold over 670 homes. I can actually say it's probably close to 690 as of today. And we've had just over 40 households have exited the program, and that means have returned part of the appreciation to Attainable Homes. So I would say now that we're 9 full-time staff members with 7 board members, we're doing pretty well. And again, this year, even with some of the market uncertainty, we can't say we haven't been completely affected, but we're still meeting our targeted sales numbers of selling 200 homes a year. So, again, my name is Neil Mitchell, and if you do have any direct questions, by all means, you can phone us anytime at 403-265-9935, or you can go to attainyourhomes.com, and you can learn more about our program. But thank you so much for having me speak with you today. I will turn this back over, and if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Well, thanks so much for doing this for us today and for doing it on short notice. So we're going to take about 2 or 3 minutes here and just prepare for the question and answer session, if that's okay.
Yep, absolutely. You've got my time.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Neil, so our first question is, what if the market goes down?
Great question. I always wait for that one there. We put in all of our contracts a minimum repayment amount. So as we are a silent investor in the property, we know there's always a chance of risk. So between 56 and 60% of our gifted down payment, we write into the contract that would be the minimum that would come back to us. So if you use the example, we gave $10,000, and if the market went down and they had to sell, they would return $5,600 to $6,000 to the program.
All right, thank you. And the next question is, how does Attainable Homes, I guess, track or ensure that people are using the home as their principal residence?
Great question as well. So We have all of our buyers, they have to swear a statutory declaration yearly that makes them come back into our office and swear an oath that they are still using the home as their primary and principal residence. And as much as I'd love to say I can knock on every door, I can't, but when you have the client base that we do, generally, they'll come to us too if they notice that Bob down the road was moving and someone else is in and didn't see a for sale sign. So we do actually mandate to them that they come in every year and swear an oath to us on the commissioner's oath that they are actually living in that home.
All right, thank you. And the next question is, do you use this program for current residents only or for attracting people to move to Calgary?
A bit of both. Let's be honest, having homeowners increases the tax portfolio for the city. So we do use it to attract people to come back to the city that may be living in outlying communities. So saying, hey, look, we have this program here, come live in Calgary. But for the bulk of our mandate was actually to just try to convert renters in Calgary into homeowners. So it is open to current residents or into those that want to move to Calgary as well. It can go either way. We don't restrict in that. One thing I just want to mention too is it's actually the mortgage companies themselves that qualify the people that come to Attainable Homes. So our staff isn't actually pulling out their T4s and pay stubs. The partnered banks are actually doing all that legwork for us as well.
All right, thank you. And next question, why can't the down payment be a gift? Is that just to make sure that you're targeting people who really do need help?
There's a few reasons why it can't be a gift. One, I don't know how many in the audience here are homeowners, but homeownership in itself has cost. It has its own maintenance. Things break, appliances break, all of those things. So it's important to be able to know that who we're putting into Attainable Homes is able to learn how to save. And we felt that $2,000 was a good number to be able to use to save, to show that they can actually do it on their own. The other reason too is we did not want it all to be a gift, because what would happen then is maybe someone's writing a purchase contract, maybe the property won't be ready for 6 months. If they don't have any money down that is on their own, they might just walk away. And again, like any builder or seller, when we sign a contract, we're hoping they're going to move in there. So we need to know that that money is coming out of their pocket if they decide to walk away.
All right, thank you. Can you just give maybe a little bit more information about the initial investment to start Attainable Homes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned there was a program called the 10 Years to End Homelessness, and so the City of Calgary gave Attainable Homes $1 million in startup capital, and the Alberta government matched it with an initial investment of $1 million as well. So we use that to, again, acquire the facilities, to get staff on board, and then also partner to get some product as well. But that has been the only money that we have ever received in the form of government funding, is that initial investment.
All right, thank you. So the next question is, do you start with buying properties or building them?
How we started out was actually, it was an interesting development. We had a project which was older townhomes, which a builder had acquired, and they were going to refurbish them all into newer properties. And so we partnered with that builder, and those were our first project. There was actually an acquisition. The following couple programs were actually just unit acquisitions as well, because with our land developments, they take more time than just buying units from builders. So our land development ones actually came out a little later, and our first sales launch was last year for our Westbury Park, was with our first land development. So we went through the whole development permit, engagement with the community, and all of those things. Our company learned how to do that and go through it. So now we've done several other of our land developments. We did, as I mentioned, the Mount Pleasant property. We have just started sales on another property that's called Varsity. It's another inner city project that will be apartments, and we're well on our way with another project as well. So we still do have some land to develop on, but most of our product does come from the unit acquisition from the builders, and that's how we started.
All right, thank you. And one more question here, or not one more, but I'm just going to go back here a bit. With respect to like asset testing of the applicants, is that just something that's done through the lender?
It is. Because our partner lenders are familiar with the program, I mean, we can't stop people from going to random lenders to get their pre-approvals, but it's written actually in their contract and in their encumbrance documents that those conditions have to be met. So when it actually hits the mortgage insurers of Genworth and CMHC, they know our product, and so they know to look for that. And if it isn't actually being referenced in their mortgage documents, they will actually go back to the lender and say, you need to find out if, what their assets are, and all of that as well.
All right, thank you. And next question, do you have any detached homes?
Good question. We haven't. One of the reasons we don't have detached homes is the cost of building them. All of our units actually have to get appraised by the mortgage insurers prior to us selling them to make sure that they are underneath market value. We just have not yet found to date a way to make detached homes work using our income criteria, and again, making sure that they fall underneath market value in Calgary. To get a single detached home would probably put you above our threshold of where we're sitting around. We don't really want to sell homes much more than over $330,000.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll tell you another reason why too is if you look at our model, part of our model is to have people leave the program eventually. Right now, we're not stopping anyone from making any of their homes a forever home, but if you look at generally people that are buying into condominium projects, whether they're apartments or townhomes, they're more likely to want to leave within 5 to 10 years. You put people in single-family homes, there is that risk that it will become their forever home, and then we're waiting 25, 40 years for them to maybe leave the program. Maybe we'll get a big, nice check at the end, but we'd like to have that cash flow come back to the program eventually as well.
Yep, thank you. So next question is, what happens if, unfortunately, the homeowner dies and leaves the property to someone in a will?
That can happen, and it's actually, we're prepared for it. It does not get them out of our encumbrance. We register an encumbrance no different than a second mortgage on the property, and if in that event happened and they left it to their family, the home would have to be appraised and they would have to pay out that portion of the appreciation to us at that time. So whether that's done through refinancing or the sale of the property, but it would have to be done then as soon as their name is off the title.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, are you willing or able to share the contract templates or training program, etc.?
I can't answer that. The contracts themselves, they're free for people to get, because if you're writing an offer on our project, you would get one. So I don't think it would be a problem, but I definitely don't have the authority to say yes or no. But I don't think it would be an issue at all to show you what our purchase agreements and encumbrance looks like.
Okay, thank you. And then the final question that we've got here, are there strata fees for the multifamily projects?
Absolutely. Everything we construct right now is condominiums, so all of them do have condominium fees attached to them. One of the things with transitioning people from renting into home ownership, it helps them to understand understand that, strata fee is helping to pay for the future of that project, whether it's window replacements or roof replacements and things like that. So it is included in all of our properties there as well.
All right, thank you. So just to finish up the question and answer period here, we do have some people on the line who aren't able to get into live meetings, so I'm just going to open up the conference for a few minutes here and just give those people a chance to ask any questions over the phone if they have them. So do that.
The conference is no longer in lecture mode.
So does anyone who wasn't able to get into live meeting, do you have any questions to
Hello?
Hi.
Sounds like it.
The conference is in lecture mode.
I see one of the questions that's come up is what is the typical discount? That is always in negotiations. We're always looking for the biggest discount that we can get. Again, because the bigger the discount we can get, then more savings for our buyers. But we also do include a small return on when we do sell the unit. So if we do get the discount, we don't sell it at the full discounted price. We do keep some of it. That is where some of our initial money will come from, is when we get the closing sale, we'll get some money from that sale as well.
All right. And then we have one final question here. Is AHCC Untitled? And I guess
we are.
Untitled as a second.
We're basically right behind the bank. We will not take any position further than second. So this does prevent our buyers from refinancing the property without paying us out, because we do believe if people want to keep that home and they want to use it as a revenue property down the road, they absolutely can, but they would have to remove us from title. So when they would maybe want to go to the bank after, say, 5 years of living in an attainable home, they can refinance or get a secure line of credit against the home, but it would enact our encumbrance, so they'll have to borrow enough money to pay us out as well, plus whatever else they would want. We are absolutely on title.
All right, thank you. So that looks like it's about it. Let's give everyone one last opportunity here.
The conference is no longer in lecture mode.
So again, anyone who wasn't able to log into live meeting and who would like to ask questions over the phone, if you have a question for Neil, please go ahead.
Hi.
Hello. No questions?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
The question is, are participants required to be taxpayers of the City of Calgary for a certain minimum period of time?
No, we don't discriminate. We used to, when we originally started the program, we had a clause that said they had to work in Calgary, but we quickly got rid of that as we evolved. We realized a lot of people that live in Calgary may end up actually working out in the oil patch or working out of town, and so we actually didn't want to limit people from living in Calgary, even though they may have rotational shifts. So we got rid of that. You just have to live in the home. We don't ask that you are, prior to getting in the house, a taxpayer. If you're coming in from BC or Manitoba and want to come to Calgary and you meet our program requirements, we're happy to help them out.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any consideration given for seniors in terms of accessibility or universal design? That's one part. And then the second part is, if the property is passed on to the children, can they inherit it, and is there any restrictions on that?
Okay. So the first question about accessibility is all of our properties, we do try to make sure they're accessible as possible. They're all wheelchair friendly, meaning ramps and elevators, but we don't actually have units that are targeted for specific demographic, meaning that they're wheelchair units with lower counters or anything like that. For seniors, we absolutely do have seniors that are in our program. They just have to meet the same requirements as anyone else. They would have to, again, qualify for a mortgage, but we do not, in any of our projects, say that it is a seniors-only project. In fact, we try to make sure our projects are as wide open to every demographic as possible.
Okay.
And your other question was, again, is if they want to pass the home on to family, they indeed can, but again, it will force the encumbrance, no different than it would force the mortgage from the bank, is that they would have to pay our share of appreciation out. So if you're talking from a sense that the homeowner has lived in it all their life and they paid their mortgage down to zero, well, I'm pretty sure if that was the case, the bank would be happy to lend them some money to pay out our encumbrance as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so any further questions? Nope.
The conference is in lecture mode.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Neil, for doing that today, especially, again, on short notice. I thought it was really informative and detailed, and you did a great job of answering everyone's questions. So that brings us to the end of our webinar here, and just a reminder that we'll be following up with a survey, and there will be a recording of this webinar posted on our website in the near future, and I'll make sure that all of you get a link to that. So once again, thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.